Galataport İstanbul Podcast'ine hoş geldiniz. Tarih, kültür sanat, mimari, moda, gastronomi ve yaşamın içinden daha birçok konu üzerine keyifli sohbetler sizi bekliyor.
Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of Galataport Podcast series. This is Pusat. Today we are together with Mr. Taco Bresser, who is the managing partner of Bresser, who's done a very interesting job in Galataport's construction. Hello Taco, welcome, how are you?
Good afternoon, Ali Bey. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to join you in this podcast and regarding this beautiful project. Yeah, thank you.
It's our pleasure to have you here. So I was thinking that if you could give some information about your company, what do you do generally? We'd like to hear about your company and yourself.
Okie doke. Let's start with well, I'm a family member of the Bresser family, and since a couple of years also CEO of the Bresser company. We are a real family company, which means my father's still involved and focusing on the things he's really like the technical aspects and the project of Galataport. Our company is specialized in the foundations improvement, and after we improved foundations, we're able to make all kind of movements or stalling objects. So in this case, we improve foundation and then vertically or horizontally can move the object. Our company, our head office is situated in the Netherlands. And let's say for more than 30 years, we did all kind of projects also in Belgium, France, Germany, and later on in the UK. And during last 7 years, we also worked in Azerbaijan, Georgia, and last but definitely not least, Turkey. We did several projects.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to ask you about other projects in Turkey as well. I really want to hear about them. But coming to Galataport, the construction of Galataport was quite challenging from a lot of perspectives. But your scope was very unique.
Yes,
Can you tell us about it a little bit in detail?
Yes, I can, and hopefully you don't mind to start with an example for this project. Is how we work. I mean, we do the relocation, and in most of these projects, relocated project, it's from the beginning not definitely clear how the project would end, which means like with the Nasrati clock tower. We at first received the question whether it was possible to horizontally move the clock tower to another position and later on position it back. And once you start communicate with each other and work out all kind of ideas and risk analysis, but also economical analysis, you at a certain point come to a conclusion that the best solution would be to improve the foundation and to relocate it only vertically and position it on base isolators at the end of the day. So that's what happened with the Nasrati clock tower as well.
So you vertically moved a 150-year monument, let's say. So how did you do that? Can you detail it for our followers a little bit?
Yes, of course. Well, what happened with the clock tower? It was located quite near the bay, and it had an already old, even a 150 years old basement or foundation underneath it as well. So the third things we had to solve was that we could manage or control the existing foundation during all further activities. So what we first did, we created an extra additional new foundation around the clock tower. Then we made the so-called concrete, I'm looking for the word, the concrete Cofferdam. And with this Cofferdam, we were able to control the groundwater level in the area and outside the area. And after that was done, we packed the clock tower with a temporary steel support structure, this temporary, so we make more or less like a present, like a package. So it was secured and safe during further activities. And once the support structure was in place, then we start disconnecting the clock tower, the upper part of the clock tower, from the original foundation in a controllable, non-vibration way. So there couldn't exist any more settlements or any more cracks. And once the upper part was completely free from the original foundation, then we lifted the clock tower for 1 meter and we leveled it. So we also made it more horizontal. It wasn't horizontal when we started.
Yeah, it was tilted like 17 degrees.
Yeah, 17 degrees. In every stage of the project, we have to be in control. So that's why the steel support structure was there from the start. And then later on, we lifted, we leveled it horizontally. And then we made, let's say, the upper concrete structure. So we created more or less, and I say it with respect, we created more or less a tray which was underneath the clock tower. So the original clock tower was positioned on a new concrete tray and then or blade, and then this total object, that's what we lifted for 2 meters. So from that point on, although it's rather technical, from that point on we made, let's say, a concrete basement with pours on top of the new piles, which were already there. And on these pours we placed the base isolators, which makes the complete structure strong enough to conquer earthquakes with on the scale of 7.5 scale of Richter. So at the end of the day, once the base isolators were positioned, then we lowered the structure. Then it had a new foundation, strong foundation, concrete foundation, and base isolators in between.
Yeah, approximately it took like 5 minutes for you to explain, but I guess it took in reality a little bit more than that, right?
Yeah. You could speak about months because it was months, but then again, but the reason why it took that long is that you had to be secure that every step you take won't damage the clock tower and its surroundings. So that's where we came in and did it in a very secured way. Especially
if you consider the soil around it, it was very delicate business that you completed.
Yes, of course. And also the fact that there was a lot of construction activities all around it as well. Yeah. You know, that of course, because for us, the clock tower was the most important one. But of course, there were a lot of other activities as well. So this combination, it was a massive operation. Yeah. Very beautiful operation. Yeah.
Yeah. So was there any moment during this operation that you were excited the most or maybe worried? Can you say anything about it?
No, the relatively most risky moment in the project was the leveling. And actually the first leveling. And the interesting or challenging aspect of it was we had this support structure and we had the original structure of the clock tower. And this combination needed to be lifted for 1 meter and leveled. So that was very challenging from a technical perspective. And after that was in place and the new concrete plate was connected with the clock tower, the upper part of the clock tower, there was still not stress, but there was still a lot of focus needed. But then it was more doing, then the most risky part of it was gone. Yeah.
Actually, lifting wasn't so much risky relatively to making the first phase, right?
No, exactly. Because then after the first movement was done, and actually to be honest, the disconnecting. Once you start lifting the first 5 centimeters, these are the most challenging one. And after that, It's all a matter of following procedures and keeping up appearances. I mean, it's not easy work. It isn't, but it isn't additional. It isn't extra risky from our perspective.
Yeah. So, were there any equipments that were designed by you specifically, maybe for this project, or generally in those kind of lifting operations?
The first reply, yes, there is, but that was only the support structure. The support structure was totally specifically designed and mounted for this project. But if it comes to the lifting part of the project, we try and we succeed in use proven techniques in creative and alternative ways. So if it comes to lifting, then we try to work with equipment which is rather general, but not that often used for this kind of project. Yeah, it is often used by us. We do it all over again. So that's why we're also convinced that we could manage this project, because we didn't have to work with completely new equipment of combinations. For us, it was a common practice.
So, Taco, can you tell us that how much did the tower weigh? How many tons did you have to lift during the lifting operation?
What I always say, that many tons, it doesn't give people a good feeling about weight. So we always make this comparison with the weight of a male elephant. You know, Ali Bey, a male elephant weighs 5 tons. So keep in mind, if you're lifting 650 tons, then you're lifting 130 elephants, which if they go in line, it's not that much. But if you put 130 elephants in one spot of 5 times 5 meter, then that's really a volume, you know. So it was really a big, it was a serious weight.
Exactly. And how many jacks lifted this weight?
Well, at the end of the day, we only use 12 jacks because 12 jacks with a maximum capacity of 50 tons each. We used that at first. So the first part, that was once the structure weighted for 100 tons, then we used that. And at the end, we used 24 tons. And 24 times 50 is much more than 650 tons, but you don't want to use the maximum capacity. So what you do is you always calculate a spare volume, a spare capacity. So that's for security reasons, that once there should occur something difficult, then at least you have extra additional capacity to make corrections. But there was no need for that. So we were safe during all the project.
So are there any similar projects that you've done globally maybe? I know that you have very interesting, not similar, but very interesting project that you are actually inserting a new floor in a very old building, a factory building, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, actually, once you look at the clock tower, we created this concrete floor, but then we start jacking it to a higher level, and that's what we did. For instance, in Georgia, we lifted an historical city villa. We lifted that 3.5 meters higher, and they are going to integrate it in a Congress exposition facility. So there is this new situation with an ancient aspect in it. That's what we did. But we also, in the eastern part of the Netherlands, we had this bale house, these cotton bales, and they were stored in this. The levels of this ancient building are only 2 meters high. So what we created more space, and actually an architect created a glazing level in between. So there we lifted half of the building higher, and they created a glazing floor in between. Yeah, I mean, from a technical perspective, all these kind of things are possible. Yeah,
I mean, you explain it like nothing, but
yeah, but that's always a risk. if I'm getting enthusiastic about the projects we're doing, then people start listening to me and they think that I'm insane and that it is not possible, which is, I mean, we've proven that, or they think it's very easy, which is also not true because at the end of the day, it takes a lot of focus, a lot of serious procedures, engineering procedures and risk analysis. Because at the end of the day, we don't want anything go wrong, And so at the end of the day, we're rather strict we're very strict in what we do during the operation.
What's interesting to me is that, I don't think there's a school for the work that you do. So maybe it's fair to say that you are self-educated in a way. So how did you do that? It's very unique expertise.
No, actually, we are working with concrete. We're working with steel. We are working with hydraulics, and we're working with the soil structures. But not only soil itself, but also groundwater levels. So, in fact, we're in Holland. You have this saying: we're looking for a sheep with 5 legs. Because there is no education for the complete package. Well, you're specialized in 1 or 2 aspects, and then you get this internal training with us, and you're definitely not allowed to work with the jacking machines before you have experienced a lot of project in a support role. So it takes some time to get the experience in the things we're doing.
Yeah, you are being humble actually, but it's a really crazy work. It needs a very high level of engineering, capability of taking risks and calculation and risk control. It's an amazing work that you do.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's true. And, there's one strict rule. Once we don't trust, then we stop and see and figure out what's going on. So we do this risk analysis up front before we start the engineering itself, and we do this risk analysis all through the whole process just to be sure, because you don't want projects to go wrong.
And I know that you have a solution partner in Turkey as well. You also interacted with a lot of Turkish engineers regarding this project and maybe Hasankeyf project as well. So how do you evaluate your relationship with the Turkish engineers?
The interesting thing is, once there's mutual respect, then there are these figures. We have Turkish employees, but on top of that, we have to communicate in English, not only in Turkish language, but also in English. But once there's mutual respect and all parties involved take their time to listen and to explain and exchange ideas and exchange questions and work like a team. And during last 7 years, we're very, very fond of the cooperation with the Turkish people and the Turkish company. It's a good combination, Turkish companies and Dutch companies. We're happy with that.
Okay. So you mentioned that you've done similar projects in Turkey. What are they? How similar are they to our Nusret'e clock tower?
Now, if it comes to the clock tower, we had several relocation projects in Hasankeyf, in the southeastern part of Turkey, where we relocated this historical, very old, ancient artifacts, even from the 15th till the 12th century. We relocated these objects, and what we did over there was also creating a tray underneath the historical object, and then not only move it vertically, but also move it horizontally from one place to another. Yeah, we did.
So in Hasankeyf in Turkey, so this was the second one in Turkey, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, which means we start more early in Hasankeyf, and after the clock tower was done in Istanbul, we also finished 2 other relocation projects in Hasankeyf.
Yeah, I'm assuming that you're going to have more since we are having a lot of inquiries. How did you manage to lift this clock tower? So I believe we are going to see you here in Istanbul more often. in the close future?
Well, to be honest, we are really looking forward to it because that was also a very interesting aspect of this project. Working in the area of Galataport, Karaköy'de, and at the quay of the Bosporus with its very vivid, very energetic environment. It was really great to work over there with all these. I mean, there's so much history over there. And in fact, there's also a funny detail. We were working in a surrounding where in the 50s, last century, buildings were built by Dutch people as well. So for us, it was like, 60 years ago, some other Dutchies were working over there as well. So for us, that's we're really looking forward coming back to Istanbul.
Yeah, I really hope so. Regarding the clock tower, I'm thinking that, the tower is 150 years old and it was not in a very good shape, both structurally and also from restoration senses. I don't know if you agree, but I personally am very happy to be a part of it to last it another 150 years more, at least. So what do you think about it? Is it a motivation for you as well?
Yeah, of course. The preservation of historical objects, that's definitely one of our drivers, and especially with this one as well. I mean, so close at a beautiful spot. I mean, as you say, 150 and again 150. Well, in Turkey they say inshallah, but I guess it should be there for decades and decades because it's definitely beautiful, restored and restored, and the basement is strengthened, so it could last that time. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you, Taco, for being with us today. I've asked all the questions that I have. Do you have anything to elaborate, to add or tell? So please feel free to tell.
Now, then again, I would really say that we are really proud and happy that we were joining this increasingly challenging operation. We had it wasn't easy all the time, but then again, if you're looking at the result and you're looking at the surroundings, the plans of this area, we're really happy to be part of that project, and looking forward to join you after this dreadful pandemic is over, and hopefully to see each other, to hug each other in the way we did before,
Yeah, we can't wait. Okay. Really, it was great to have you. It was great. It's fun to work with you. It's fun to make this podcast with you. Thank you very much, Taco.
Okay, thank you very much, Ali Bey. See you. Bye-bye.
See you.